Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects millions of American families, the future of the child tax credit after 2026. For years, this credit has been a vital source of relief for parents, helping offset the rising costs of raising children. But with key tax provisions set to expire soon, many families are wondering, what happens next? Will the child tax credit shrink, disappear, or expand again? Let's break down what's changing, what's at risk, and how you can prepare for the years ahead. The Child Tax Credit, CTC, has been one of the most important tools for supporting working and middle-class families. It allows parents to claim a credit for each qualifying child under 17, reducing their overall tax bill. Currently, families can claim up to $2,000 per child, thanks to the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, TCJA. But here's the catch. Those expansions are set to expire after 2025. When that happens, the CTC will revert to older, smaller limits, and millions could lose hundreds or even thousands of dollars in annual benefits. Before the TCJA, the child tax credit was worth $1,000 per child, and many lower-income families couldn't claim the full amount because it wasn't fully refundable. The 2017 reform doubled the credit to $2,000 and expanded eligibility to include more middle-income families. It also made up to $400 refundable, meaning parents could get a refund even if they owed no taxes. These changes lifted millions of families financially, but only temporarily. Once 2026 arrives, the old rules come back unless Congress decides to extend or modify the credit. When the current law expires, the maximum child tax credit will fall back to $1,000 per child, cutting the benefit in half. The income phase-out thresholds will also drop significantly, meaning higher-income families will lose eligibility much faster. In short, fewer families will qualify, and those who do will receive smaller credits. That's a major setback, especially as the cost of living continues to rise. The loss of this credit could push some families back into financial strain, especially those balancing childcare, rent, and daily expenses. One of the biggest benefits of the current child tax credit is its refundability. For many working parents, that refund provides critical support for bills, groceries, or childcare. But under the pre-2017 rules, the credit was only partially refundable, and families with very low incomes often couldn't access much of it. If that system returns, it will hit the lowest-income households hardest. That's why so many advocates are urging Congress to make the full refundability permanent, so that every family, regardless of income, can benefit equally. You might remember the expanded child tax credit of 2021, introduced through the American Rescue Plan. That was the most generous version in U.S. history, up to $3,600 per child under 6 and $3,000 for kids aged 6 to 17. It was fully refundable and paid monthly, giving families direct support throughout the year. The program lifted nearly 3 million children out of poverty, according to the Census Bureau. However, it expired at the end of 2021, and efforts to renew it have so far failed in Congress. So what happens after 2026 depends largely on politics. Democrats generally support restoring or expanding the 2021-style CTC, focusing on full refundability and larger payments. Republicans tend to favor smaller credits tied to work incentives and balanced budgets. With the 2026 tax changes approaching, both sides will be under pressure to compromise. Whether that results in a middle ground policy or another temporary fix remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure. The child tax credit's future will be a major issue in the next election cycle. If Congress does nothing, the 2026 rollback could cost the average family with 2 kids up to $2,000 a year in lost credits. For working parents already struggling with inflation and high childcare costs, that loss could be devastating. Many experts argue that reducing the credit will also slow economic growth because families spend those funds on essentials, keeping local economies strong. Without that extra cushion, more households could fall behind on bills or go into debt, especially those living paycheck to paycheck. The expiration of the child tax credit also ties into the broader 2026 tax reform. When the TCJA expires, tax brackets will rise, the standard deduction will shrink, and other credits will change. That means working families won't just lose part of their CTC, they'll also pay higher overall taxes. The combination could be a double hit for millions of households. That's why understanding these changes now rather than later is so important. Financial planning and awareness can make a real difference before 2026 arrives. Economists warn that if the CTC shrinks, child poverty rates could rise again. During the expanded credit in 2021, child poverty dropped to record lows. But when the expansion ended, poverty quickly surged back up. Studies show that direct cash support for families improves children's nutrition, education, and long-term outcomes. Without continued support, those gains could vanish. So the debate over the child tax credit isn't just about taxes, it's about the future of American families and how we invest in the next generation. Another major consideration is inflation. While the credit amount has stayed mostly fixed, the cost of raising children has skyrocketed. The USDA estimates that it now costs over $300,000 to raise a child from birth to age 18, not including college. Without an inflation adjustment, the real value of the child tax credit keeps shrinking every year. Some lawmakers are proposing to index the credit to inflation, meaning it would rise automatically as costs go up. That could help families maintain financial stability even as prices climb. There's also growing discussion about making the CTC permanent and automatic rather than letting it expire every few years. Many experts argue that families need predictability, not uncertainty, when planning their budgets. Constant renewals and expirations make it hard to plan for the future. A permanent, refundable, and inflation-adjusted child tax credit would provide consistent support, much like Social Security does for seniors. It would also simplify the tax system, ensuring every eligible family receives the help they deserve without jumping through bureaucratic hoops. Critics, however, worry about the cost. The expanded CTC program in 2021 cost the government more than $100 billion in a single year. Opponents argue that making such benefits permanent would add to the federal deficit unless funded by new taxes or spending cuts elsewhere. Supporters counter that the credit pays for itself by boosting the economy and reducing long-term poverty costs. Ultimately, the future of the CTC may hinge on how Congress decides to balance these competing fiscal and social priorities. For working families, the uncertainty is frustrating. Parents rely on the child tax credit to plan for child care, school supplies, and everyday expenses. As 2026 approaches, many are anxious about whether their refunds will shrink or disappear. The best step families can take right now is to stay informed and follow legislative updates closely. Understanding how the credit might change will help you adjust your finances, savings, or withholdings in advance, instead of being surprised when filing your 2026 return. Financial advisors recommend using this time to review your tax strategy. Consider increasing contributions to retirement accounts, 529 college savings plans, or dependent care accounts to offset potential tax increases. If the CTC is reduced, these tools can help minimize your taxable income and preserve your savings. And remember, even if Congress extends the credit, filing correctly and taking advantage of available deductions can still make a big difference for your family's financial health. The future of the child tax credit isn't just a tax issue, it's a moral one. It reflects how much our society values families and children. Many Americans believe supporting working parents should be a top national priority, especially with wages lagging behind inflation. As the debate unfolds, the voices of ordinary families will matter more than ever. Reaching out to your representatives and staying engaged can help shape what the next version of the child tax credit looks like. No matter what happens in Congress, 2026 will be a pivotal year. It's the moment when multiple major tax laws reset, and the child tax credit will be right at the center of it all. Whether lawmakers choose to renew, reform, or replace it will determine how much relief working families receive in the years ahead. So if you're a parent, this is the time to plan, prepare, and make your voice heard. The decisions made now will shape your family's finances for the next decade. In conclusion, the child tax credit after 2026 remains uncertain, but what's clear is that millions of families depend on it. Losing even part of this benefit could make daily life harder for parents nationwide. Staying informed, planning ahead, and advocating for fair policies can help protect your household's financial future. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to help more families understand how the coming tax changes could impact them. Together, we can stay prepared for what's next.